You join me for episode 3 of PH Project Car, and it's a very important day for our Mk5 VW Golf GTI. Right now, it's completely stock-ish, but by the end of the episode, it'll be packed full of go faster bits from eBay. It's time to kickstart the Golf R beta build, everybody. Let's get to it.
You know the drill by now. We're giving away this Mk5 VW Golf GTI that we're turning into a Golf R beating track car for £10,000, only using parts and accessories found on eBay. In the last episode, the Golf R trounced our stock GTI by 5.5 seconds around Curborough sprint course. So we're back at BRS Automotive, aka PH Project Car HQ, to give the suspension, brakes and tyres a major makeover. Let the modding commence! Where should we start?
I think, especially with a track like Curborough, chassis first. Most people want to go straight in with more power, but I think get the chassis right. So I think better tyres, suspension, so springs, shocks, coilovers as it were, and brakes. And I think then once that's done, then start to introduce more power to the car.
Sounds like a good idea. So why don't you start taking the car apart and I'll go and get the bits we need from eBay.
Sounds good to me.
Finding the right parts for our GTI is about as effortless as it gets with eBay's My Garage feature. All I have to do is plug in the number plate, search for the bits that I'm looking for, and it'll show me all the parts and accessories that are compatible with our Mk5 Golf. After scouring through the listings, I ended up with this mega haul of mods. Let me show you what I've bought. First up, we've got new springs and dampers. These are BC Racing's BR series coilovers, and I think these offer the best mix of track and on-road performance. Now, I know there are more hardcore dampers out there. However, we wanted this GTI to feel just as good on the road as it does on track, especially as we're giving the car away to one of you lot at the end of the series. More on that a little bit later in the episode. Now, the great thing about using a VW Golf GTI as the basis of our build is that we can pinch things from different manufacturers under VAG, or whatever it's called these days, at a much cheaper rate than going down the aftermarket route. And that's exactly what we've done for the calipers. These were originally from an Audi S3, which underneath is pretty much exactly the same as our Mk5 Golf GTI. Now, these do come with discs and pads, but we've decided to get new versions from Brembo and Ferodo respectively, because although these look clean, I don't know how they're going to perform on track. I'd rather not risk it and just get new ones instead. Finally, the tyres. Now, I know we have a mountain to climb to try and beat Charles in the Golf R, but these Nankang NS2Rs are our secret weapon. I had to dig through the PH forums and I found these tyres not only heated up really quickly, so we're on the pace straight away, but they won't fall apart after several hot laps. And I think of all the upgrades that we've got here, it's the tyres that are going to make the biggest difference, particularly around the tight and twisty Curborough. How much did this all come to then? Well, a little under £2,000, which leaves us with around about £2,800 to spend on engine upgrades. But before we get to that, we need to get all of this stuff into PH Project Car. Before we get our shiny new upgrades into the GTI, we first need to pull out the old brakes and dampers, which is a lot easier said than done. We're going from these old OEM shocks to the new BC Racing coilovers. There's a massive height difference here. The GTI already sits quite low on its stock dampers. We're not going to be scraping the floor, are we?
No. I mean, you've got a much firmer spring in this one anyway, and given when you've got the weight of the car on this, it wouldn't sit that high anyway. So it's quite deceiving, really. It's going to sit lower, and you have got the adjustability on these coilovers anyway. In terms of your threads, depend on what height you want to set it. And anyway, we get everything fitted today, and then you're going to have to come back and we do kind of four-wheel geometry on it anyway, so it's all set up for road, track, etc.
That sounds good, but we can drive this away today, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Perfect. All right, well, as time is tight, let's go and get these in the Golf.
Perfect, let's do it.
What's great about these BC Racing coilovers is that they provide a degree of adjustability, allowing us to find a setup that works best for Curborough's twisty figure of 8. Lowering springs are cheaper, but they're nowhere near as versatile as a full coilover upgrade. Coilovers are on and they are looking absolutely fantastic, but I have noticed that the ride height is a lot lower than it was than before. Pip, is that something I should be worried about?
No, I mean, we've fitted them as they are, as they come out of the box. We've got loads of adjustability in them. So we get the wheels on, get it on the floor, get the height set, and yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be good.
Fantastic. So we can make it a little bit taller.
Yeah, we can. You've got so much adjustability on the height, so we can come up, we can come down, and then we'll just make sure we're square on the floor as such.
Perfect. Next up, we've got to do the brakes. Now, admittedly, I actually had an issue with the brakes the other day. The stock ones were binding. I was meant to go to a PH Sunday service, got halfway, the brakes were binding. So I've had a new stock caliper fitted, but we're now going to get something a little bit beefier. So we've got our new setup over here. First thing I wanted to point out, earlier I said that these were Audi S3 brakes, and I know that people are going to point out and say, but it says GTI. I think someone's put that on.
Yeah, these calipers, they're fitted to, I think it's the anniversary edition, some versions of the R32, or if not all, not 100% sure, and the S3.
That's what I should have said earlier, so thanks, Pip. Now we're going to move over to the discs. We've got a significantly bigger disc than what we had originally. What's the benefits of going for something this big?
Well, you've got, I mean, if you compare that directly to the other disc, I mean, obviously that disc is worn out anyway, but you've got a much larger surface area for braking. And on our man, heat dissipation is probably a lot better on that disc. So yeah, I mean, bigger brakes, more stopping power for sure.
Yeah, this thing is going to be an absolute monster at stopping. My only concern though is this going to fit with the stock wheels because they're so much bigger?
Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's fit them.
On go the new calipers, which look as though they were once painted lime green before returning to a more GTI appropriate red. They're still single piston, but the bigger discs and pads should provide a lot more stopping power. While Pip gets the brakes sorted, we'll get the new tyres ready. We're keeping the original wheels because we can't afford new ones, and the OEM ones still look cool 17 years on. Besides, it's the NS2Rs that are going to bring the lap times. The good news is the wheels fit with our new massive brake calipers and discs. Now, what we really want to see is just how low this thing is. We haven't done anything to the suspension yet, and it's already looking like it's going to be extremely low. So, Pip, lower it, let's have a look and see what it's like. See, there's really not a lot of room to maneuver here. There's no weight on the wheels or the suspension at all at the moment, but that's all about to change. Oh my goodness, that is, that's really low. Look at that, look. That's got to be 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters.
It sits really well, actually.
What's it like at the front? It's about the same at the front. I mean, it is looking really low. It looks awesome.
It does look really good.
It does look awesome.
Actually, it sits, considering we've done no adjustments whatsoever,
yeah,
it sits really well, actually. I don't think there's a huge amount. I think bring the back up slightly, and I think we'll double check the front, but we're, for the most part, there.
You think I could get that over a speed bump?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
So how about we do that? We raise the suspension up just a little bit, maybe soften it off a touch, and get this thing to Curborough. I'm back again at Curborough in the newly improved PH Project Car Golf GTI. Now, I've driven hundreds of cars, including plenty of track toys, but I've never driven anything as firm as this thing when I drove it away from Pip's. Yes, it's completely eliminated body roll, and I've now got a much flatter platform to play with, but my goodness, the smallest crease in the road would send every molecule of fat in my body jiggling about, which is as unpleasant as it sounds. However, Pip introduced me to these keys that can be used to adjust the front dampers, while the rears have a toggle built in. Turns out they were on the stiffest setting. And just with a few clicks on the front suspension and also a few clicks at the rear has completely transformed this car.
I think it just goes to show how versatile these coilovers are, because I've softened off the ride. It feels like a much better car to drive on the road, but it's still cornering really flat. And it's giving me so much more confidence in the corners. It just feels like it's completely transformed the ride of this car. Of course, those Nankang tyres are doing a lot of the heavy lifting as well. This thing just has so much more grip than it did before. I can really see us shaving seconds off our lap time with this upgrade package. But with all this grip comes a new challenge, and it is the seat that I'm in at the moment, which is built for grand touring and not track use. And so I've got so much grip in the corners, but I've got nothing really to support me, so I'm having to fling my body around like a MotoGP rider. And I've not included an upgraded seat as part of the budget, which I'm really starting to regret now. We've got the new brakes on here as well, but I must admit, I'm not getting that transformative feeling as I am getting with the coilovers and tyres. Now, of course, they're still OEM, and they're also single pot calipers up front. So it's not going to be a drastic change what we had before, and the GTI's brakes were pretty good anyway. But I think we're going to really tell the difference over the course of a lap.
Last time we were here, our pro driver Charles set a blistering 28.1 second lap time around Curborough's twisty figure of 8 in the Mk8 Golf R 20 years edition. Meanwhile, our GTI banked a 33.6, meaning we've got 5.5 seconds to make up.
Right, coming up to the line, 30 miles an hour. I'm going to drop it into second and go. Right. Wow, just so much easier to get on the throttle out of turn one. We've got so much more grip than before. Just feel a lot more confident. Still a little bit understeery. Obviously, we've not done anything to the weight. But my goodness, just feels like a completely different car from before. Nearly running onto the grass there, crossed the line. That felt so much faster than before. I've got the time here, and it's a 31.2, which is about 2.4 seconds faster than what we achieved in the stock GTI, and means we only have 3 seconds to find to catch up with Charles in the Golf R. All using mods and accessories that have transformed our GTI without ruining its daily usability. Well, not that much anyway. And finding the bits that we needed was an absolute cakewalk thanks to eBay's My Garage feature, and I've left a link to that down in the description so you can try it out for yourself.
While you're there, don't forget to enter the competition to win this car. All you need to do is hit the link and you could be in with a shot of being the new owner of PH Project Car once the series comes to an end.
There's still loads of mods left on our shopping list, so if you haven't already, please subscribe because there's so much more to come in the rest of the series. PH Project Car has taken a giant leap this time out, but I think in the next episode, the thing that's going to need upgrading is me.